Hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Production here at YouTube, and welcome to another Wednesday review. Today I am reviewing the 9th studio album and also the brand new studio album from this obviously it's kind of obscure but still pretty classic German metal band Trance. The album, of course, is titled Metal Forces, which was released through Metalopolis is actually what it's titled. Metalopolis Records on August 6th. So, yeah. So, of course, this album right here definitely follows 2017's The Loser Strikes Back. I was almost going to look to the Metal Archive to see what the title was, because I kind of forgot about it for a bit. Because of it's been since 2017 was the last time actually I would even remember the fucking title, because of that's when I reviewed the album. So it's been reviewed on this channel as well, so it's the second new trance sound to be reviewed on this channel. I don't have to really go into too much depth about at least the history of Trance. Again, classic band, apparently formed as Age in 1978 and changed their name in 1979 to Trance, and released about at least 3 classic albums, at least to my opinion, in the 80s. Again, their first album, Breakout, Power Infusion, and Victory. Somehow within there kind of changed their name to Transmission and released at least one album under its name, and of course then changed it back to Trance and released at least one slightly mediocre album and one really terrible album in Boulevard of Broken Dreams, and then finally got their juices back when they obviously were revisiting their old stuff for the Shock Power album. And then, of course, then finally coming back with that sort of same energy for 1996's Die Hard. So there you go. That was it, and that was probably the last time they released anything until 2017, with, of course, a bit of a slightly altered lineup because of Lothar Antony went on and basically took the Transmission name and basically ran with that name and released plenty of albums under that name. But so, newer lineup for, of course, The Loser Strikes Back. And then that basically, at least, you can tell, at least rejuvenated their sound. Here we are with, of course, 2021's Metal Forces. And, of course, I'll get into, at least, into the actual review, slightly altered lineup again. So, without further ado, let me get into my thoughts on the 9th and brand new studio album from Trance, Metal Forces. Let me get into it. Alright, so before we really get into any of my actual, honest thoughts on this album, you know what I have to do? I have to do a track listing rundown so I can tell you folks what are the songs on this album, how many songs are on this album, and what is the time length for this album. And since we have at least about 10 songs here, it all clocks in at 41 minutes and 11 seconds. So these 10 songs are The Fighter, Troublemaker, Death Machine, Deep Dance, Believers, the 1 minute instrumental or just very atmospheric track that I like to always prefer it as the House of Jericho, or Horns of Jericho, actually, the Horns of Jericho. Then going to As Long As I Live, to then the 42nd track, the Drums of Waterloo, to then of course going into the title track and then Ballad for a Group. So there's your 10 songs there. I know I might have fucked up some titles there, but that's, again, I apologize. Only one title that I slightly fucked up. But either way, there's your 10 songs. So, where do I really begin, since it's been definitely a while since I've really revisited their last album, The Loser Strikes Back. Right off the first listen, it's definitely very apparent that obviously with the addition of newer singer Nick Coleman, which the last time I reviewed an album where he actually was vocals on was back in 2016, when he was the singer for Vicious Rumors for the Concussion Protocol album. And so the fact that, of course, since reviewing, I think, was it last year, the album that obviously follows Concussion Protocol, and seeing that obviously Nick Coleman had left Vicious Rumors, it's very interesting that he pops up here in Trance. And obviously you can definitely feel his presence on this album, because again, right from the opening rocker, that is The Fighter, which is a straight fast rocker, and again, that wouldn't have been too out of place off of Power Infusion, or at times maybe Victory, but I would definitely want to say like Power Infusion. It's got the sort of energy and the same overall and just overall feel. It definitely wouldn't have been out of place off of Power Infusion. But going into other songs like Troublemaker, and then of course Deep Dance, and then Believers, you know, as far as just more the straight up metal edge to rockers on here. Again, Troublemaker though at times definitely has that almost Scorpions like groove going on to it. At times it's also one of those songs, again, it's a catchy kind of groove to it though, but it wouldn't have been too out of place off of like an album like Power Infusion. It would have fit right in place with those songs on there. So it's definitely, again, it's got, you can definitely tell that they're really, that obviously some of the original guys that are left in this band are definitely trying to take as much of the feel and the energy of at least the classic material, but really updating it and making it a little more modern-like, and that's what they did. It's a fresh, modern take on the classic sort of German metal sound, or just hard rock sound that they were building and were on at least their earlier albums. And you really feel that with songs like The Fighter, Troublemaker, and Death Machine, which is back to me more of a heavier track, but it still is a fucking crushing song in its own right. Then of course Believers and As Long As They Live. The title track is another track that really wouldn't have been too out of place off of Power Infusion. But another song that I think would have been out of place too off of Power Infusion would be the song Deep Dance, which Deep Dance, in many retrospectives, while it's a kind of an interesting song because it's got a very more almost hypnotic kind of groove going on to it. I really was kind of almost on the fence whether I wanted to really consider this song a highlight, but the more I think I gave the sound listens, and the more after not listening to the album, and how that overall riff and its overall just the catchiness of it just really stuck into my head, where I'm actually just at times maybe humming a little bit of the overall rhythm of the song. How it just, again, it's stuck to me. The fact that I can remember some of this track as well, and I can still really hear the song in my head again while reviewing it and just talking about it. I obviously I really had to write this down as a highlight for me on this sound because it's a very catchy track. Again, it's very interesting, very modern-like at times too, but again, it's got a very classic feel going on. Again, with a lot of the great guitar tones, that it's very warm sounding at times. It's definitely a very solid track, and it's really one of the highlights of this album. Another interesting stuff about this album also could be for the very last song, Ballad for a Group, which is actually the longest song on the album, though if you were to combine at least the Horns of Jericho, As Long As You Live, and the Drums of Waterloo, that can almost make it to almost a little, to be as long as Ballad for a Group. But this track, of course, clocks in at 6 minutes and 6 seconds, or 5 seconds actually. No, it is 6 seconds. This track kind of is kind of a ballad, like it starts out very a little just kind of calm like and very relaxed in a way, but you can tell that there's a little bit of emotion flowing through the overall pace of the beginning before it really does break into, you know, all the guitars just coming in, and it's a very slow kind of track too in some places. So it's kind of has a ballad feel, but it's a very organic track. It's just a very soft kind of rocker almost in its way, but it's a great track, and it's a great way to end the album. It definitely, I think in many ways, is a very good retrospect and a completely look back at the whole entire, just their period of when they probably were formed as a band, basically. It's almost an autobiography in one song, because again, all the ups and downs, I guess you can say. It's definitely a song that definitely mirrors their overall career. So it's all put into one song. That's the way I take it, and it's a very good track, and it's a great way to end the album. So everything's not bad. The Horns of Jericho and the Dreams of Waterloo are very interesting tracks. Again, they're instrumentals. The Horns of Jericho. I was about to say Waterloo, but the Horns of Jericho. This song right here. It's not even, again, it's not a song. It's a track. It's instrumental. What it is, it's basically a lot of Nudi's. Yeah, his drumming. Very almost tribal-like, the way he's hit, just overall feel, it's very tribal-like, but on top of it, you got like a lot of news clips that were taken from at least over the past, a decade or so about I guess the really odd phenomenon about hearing obviously battle horns or something in the skies. Something I thought it was very, very kind of supernatural like, and some can never really can never figure out. It was almost unexplained for why people were hearing it in Canada and Manitoba and so on. So everyone just thought, is this the sounds of at least the gods or something? And obviously they used these clips to really kind of be as a way to build up very epically to, of course, As Long As They Live. And of course it ends again, the drums of Waterloo is kind of again just the overall climax of it and the continuation before going into the title track. But so everything, I just want to kind of just get all of that. And so I pretty much at least got all my thoughts and overall facts. I do have to say, Nick Holman, fantastic on this album. I think I like his performance on this album more so than I did on Concussion Protocol from Vicious Rumors. Of course, it's very interesting hearing him on this album because of he sounds so different compared to at least Lothar Antony or even I think John Struble or something on The Loser Strikes Back. Let me kind of real quick take a little quick. Yeah, Joe Struble. He's very different. Nick Holman's got a very higher pitched kind of voice to him a little bit. It's almost if you were to combine at times Vince Neil and Jeff Tate. You combine the two voices and it makes, and he's a very good singer. He's actually a very good, he's at times obviously a much more better singer in terms of caliber than Vince Neil, but he does have a very, very melodic voice to it where he can hit a lot of notes that a guy like Jeff Tate can. So it's just interesting hearing his voice instead of the more almost just whiskey-soaked rasp of Lothar Antony, the original singer, or even the sort of almost bluesy kind of voice of Joe Struble. So it's very interesting, but he works and it fits with the album, and he definitely gives the album its overall unique feel. So I hope he actually does stick around with Trance, because I think he's pretty good. So there we go. That's it. There's my thoughts on Metal Forces, the 9th and brand new studio album from Trance. And as far as my rating here, let me get this. There was something on top of it. I'm giving it an 8.96 out of 10. I think it's a very solid album. Just from the highlights on here, like The Fighter, Troublemaker, Death Machine, As Long As They Live, the title track, Ballad for a Group, and of course Deep Dance. Just those highlights alone makes me definitely where I can strongly say I think this is at times a much more stronger album than compared to the previous album, The Loser Strikes Back. I think they really hit a pretty good home run with this one. I can see that this can lead to even better album afterwards, but for right now, this is a solid album from these guys, and I think it definitely fits in with some of the classic stuff they had released in the past. So, a very solid album. I don't know where I can find this to, I guess, for you guys to purchase or whatnot, where you can support this album. I know you can look on Discogs, maybe eBay, maybe, but again, if you're a fan of, if you like Trance and you like a lot of the other albums, you know, like Power Infusion and Victory, maybe even Breakout, you know, those albums, I can't see you not liking this album. Even if you like the last album, The Loser Strikes Back, I can't see you not liking this album. I definitely recommend it. It's a solid album. So with that, I hope all of you enjoyed. This is Heavy Thrasher saying I'm out, and I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone.